Welcome to Brian360 and welcome to the beach and boardwalk of Philipsburg, the capital of the Dutch side of St. Maarten. Now I know what you're thinking. Brian, this doesn't look like a beach or the boardwalk. And you would be right. I'm starting this video on the east end where you would approach the beach if you were walking from the cruise ship. There are water taxis that will take you from the cruise ship to other parts of Philipsburg, but I figured I would start at this end, amongst some of the duty-free shops and restaurants. And right here is where one of the water taxis will drop you off or pick you up. You are watching the regular or flat version of this video, which is best if you're watching it on a TV. If you would like a more interactive experience and you have a mobile device or computer, then I recommend checking out the 360 version of this video that is also on my channel. I'm going to chat a little bit more about Philipsburg in this version, including what you can expect as well as the history of this area. I tend to not chat so much in my 360 videos, so you can pretend that you're walking down the boardwalk and either exploring it for the first time or reliving your vacation experience. This is a duty-free perfume and cologne shop that I'm about to walk into with my family and buy some Billie Eilish perfume for my daughter. Just before we enter the boardwalk, you can see the shop on the right. There are lots of shops like this that sell tourist memorabilia, including t-shirts, hats, bags, towels, keychains, and lots of other things to remind you of your trip to St. Maarten. Coming up on our right is a French bakery with a black awning and roof. Yes, I know it's a bit odd to have a French bakery on the Dutch side, considering how many French bakeries there are on the French side, but we went there for a light lunch anyway. We enjoyed our sandwiches and sides and then did some damage when we went for dessert and dove into the lovely French baked goods. Lots of calories there. Just coming into view on the left is Great Bay Beach, which runs about a mile long and forms the southern edge of Philipsburg. For about $25 US, you can get 2 lounges and an umbrella and maybe a couple of beers. As I mentioned before, lots of shops with touristy things, clothing, souvenirs, memorabilia. Shops like this are all over the place. So, if you are planning on spending the day at the beach, I strongly urge you with all my power to spend the money on an umbrella. As I have mentioned in some of my other St. Maarten videos, I am half a shade darker than a vampire and come close to bursting into flames when the sun is too strong. You do not want to be that guy who returns to the cruise ship at the end of the day who looks like his skin is on fire because he didn't get the umbrella or use enough sunscreen. As I mentioned earlier, Philipsburg is the capital of the Dutch side of St. Maarten, and it is where you will land if you are visiting St. Maarten for the day on a cruise ship. The town was established in 1763 by John Phillips, a Scottish captain in the Dutch Navy after whom it was named. Philipsburg quickly grew into a bustling center for trade and commerce due to its ideal location between the Great Salt Pond and the expansive Great Bay, which served as a natural harbor. The island of St. Maarten was originally inhabited by the Arawak people between 800 and 300 BC, although archaeological finds suggest that the island could have been inhabited as early as 2000 BC, likely by people who migrated from South America. We're now getting our first good look at the beach, and you can see how large it is with plenty of room for tourists. The beach stretches almost to that mountain way off in the distance. The beach wasn't particularly busy, as there were only 2 cruise ships in that day. The harbor can accommodate up to 6 ships, and that will be an extremely busy day in Philipsburg. In 1493, the Europeans, led by Christopher Columbus, made contact with what became known as St. Martin. The Spanish claimed St. Martin as its own. By the early 17th century, the Dutch and French also expressed an interest in the island, given its potential for agriculture and trade. Control over the island changed several times over the years as the Spanish, Dutch, and French fought for supremacy. As testaments to these struggles, Fort Louis stands guard over Marigot, the capital city of the French side. I have a video on my channel of Fort Louis if you are interested in taking a look at that. As well, overlooking the west end of Great Bay Beach in Philipsburg are the remains of Fort Amsterdam, a Dutch fort built in 1631. And that fort, or at least its remains, are perched atop that mountain way off in the distance. As we're nearing some of the larger restaurants on the boardwalk, I wanted to put in a request to the tourists who are visiting Philipsburg or St. Martin as a whole. In 2017, Hurricane Irma wreaked havoc on the island, causing horrific damage and loss of life. The economic destruction was remarkable. Then, just 2.5 years later, as the island was struggling to rebuild, COVID-19 struck another blow to this island's economy. Some of the places we used to visit on a regular basis didn't survive the hurricane or COVID-19. So if you're coming here, please support the local economy through your shopping and dining at the many restaurants and bars in Philipsburg. If you're here on a cruise ship, you do have the option to return to the ship for lunch, but you will have a much better experience and memory of eating at a local restaurant in Philipsburg, and you'll know that you're helping out the local economy. You might have noticed that the view has changed slightly. I have extended my 3-meter selfie stick for a low bird's eye view of the boardwalk and the beach. Whenever the selfie stick comes out, it certainly attracts a lot of attention. When in St. Martin, I always have my sunglasses and hat on, and I try to pretend I'm invisible. Of course, walking around with a 3-meter selfie stick. It doesn't always work. But then you do get moments like this, which are fun for me, when people wave and become part of the video. In 1648, the 80 Years' War ended and the Spanish decided to seek their fortune elsewhere, and they abandoned St. Martin. In the same year, the Treaty of Concordia was signed, splitting the island into the French and Dutch territories, creating the dual nation island that we know today. Unfortunately, colonialism brought slavery to the island of St. Martin. Salt production became very important to the economy, with slaves being forced to work the Great Salt Pond which borders Philipsburg. With the abolition of slavery in 1863 on the Dutch side, the economy transitioned to small-scale agriculture and trade. The mid-19th century brought the rise of tourism to St. Martin, and that is its main source of income today. With Princess Juliana International Airport a short drive away from Philipsburg, as well as the cruise ship port directly in Philipsburg, hundreds of thousands of tourists visit the island every year. The airport is well known for airplanes that skim dangerously close over the heads of tourists on the beach. Oddly enough, I also have a video of that on my channel, so please check that out. I have to admit that's one of my favorite videos, so go check it out. It's kind of fun. Coming into view right now, where there is a large lineup of people, is where the water taxi arrives and departs. The water taxi shuttles back and forth between the cruise ship during the day, and it is a quick way to get back to the boat. If you don't take a water taxi, you do have the option to walk a bit of a distance back to the ship, but just make sure you budget that time into your day. You do not want to be that guy chasing down the ship as it departs. We're now going to take a quick detour from the boardwalk and walk towards Front Street, which is where you will find the St. Martin Courthouse, which was built in 1793, and that is the building that is directly in front of me right now. So in addition to the beach and the boardwalk, there are plenty of shopping opportunities in Philipsburg. So the street that we're approaching, Front Street, is where you will find high-end jewelry and clothing stores, as well as many stores selling souvenirs for tourists to remind them of their trip to St. Maarten. In addition to the lovely courthouse, this is also where you will find taxis and buses that will take you to different parts of the island. For instance, if you want to go to Maho Beach, that's where the airplanes fly in right over the tourists' heads. This is where you can find your transportation. You can also get transportation to other parts of the island, such as Marigot, which is on the French side, or take an island tour. That's a great way to see the island, a great way to spend the day if you don't want to spend it on the beach. In addition to the high-end expensive stores of Front Street, there is also Back Street, which is one street over and runs parallel to Front Street. That's where you will find stores that cater to the more budget-minded tourists and locals. I highly recommend walking both streets to experience what Philipsburg has to offer. Please come back for my next video and we will explore Front Street and Back Street together. St. Maarten is a wonderful blend of two nations on the same island, and whether you're visiting for a day on a cruise ship or you're here for an extended stay, it is easy to visit both sides and explore both cultures of St. Maarten. I have several videos on my channel highlighting the many options for tourists to experience during their time on the island. Now I'm going to shut up for a little bit, let you enjoy the sights and sounds of the boardwalk and the beach. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and sign up for notifications, and come back to my channel to see more videos on St. Maarten and Saba. I have a bunch. Thank you again for watching, and take care.